Highland Adventure Day 3, and we're in a random car park somewhere. And here's a little teaser. We've come to see some mythical horses. Just heading down to get on a boat to go on the Falkirk wheel. That'll be exciting, won't it? Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. So the Falkirk wheel was completed in 2002 and opened by Her Majesty the Queen. It stands 35 metres tall. It was assembled in Derbyshire, then taken apart, and then brought up to Falkirk and reassembled. And it connects the Forth and Clyde Canal with the Union Canal. There's a boat just coming along the top there to go in. And I'll soon be Arthur. We're on board. We're loading. Front seats. Woo.
Please remember and get off the same side of the boat we've tied up against. It's what I call the dry side. Thank you very much.
It's like a flying boat, isn't it?
And that's it, we're at the top.
we're now moving at 4 miles an hour over the reinforced concrete aqueduct. There's just over 100 metres between here and the tunnel, dead ahead of us. We'll go right through that and turn around before heading back and taking a look at the view that's right behind you now. You might have noticed that there are 2 tourist boats in service at the Falkirk Wheel, each with slightly strange names. Archimedes and Antimine. Did you see which one you are on today when you got on? Those special names were chosen for a reason. They're both important parts of the wheel's identity. First, Archimedes. He was a scholar and mathematician in ancient Greece who discovered something that's very important for the operation of the wheel.
Any floating object displaces its own weight of fluid.
Okay, that might need a bit of explanation. Archimedes' Principle says that when an object is placed in water, for example the boat you are sitting in now, it displaces its exact own weight in water. The amount of water that moves out of the way to make room for us is equal in weight to the boat itself. That might sound quite simple, but it's actually really important for the smooth operation of the Falkirk Wheel. Each gondola, that's the big tub of water we just travelled up in, holds 250 tons of water. When our boat sailed in, we pushed about 60 tons of water. That is the weight of the boat and its fuel and all the people in it, out meaning that the gondola then had 190 tons of water and 60 tons of boat in it. So the contents of the gondola still weigh 250 tons. The clever part is that the other gondola will also weigh exactly 250 tons as well. We are evenly balanced with them, and that means that it only takes a tiny bit of energy to get us moving around the central core of the wheel. We're balancing each other out. So while you might think it would take a lot of energy to lift 250 tons of steel, water, boat and even you up the 27 metres we just came, it actually took just a small push. About the same amount of energy as boiling 8 electric kettles. That's enough for a cup of tea, each for everyone on the boat. We haven't got time for a cuppa now, but you can get one down at the visitor centre afterwards while you watch the wheel going round again. Another really clever part of the wheel are the cogs. You can't see them as they're inside the workings, but these huge jagged wheels and sensors stop us from tipping over as we move up and down around the wheel. When the designers were putting the plans for the Falkirk wheel together, they were confident it would work on paper, but they weren't exactly sure. This is the first rotating boat lift in the world after all. So to test their theory out, they built a small-scale model out of Lego to see how it went. Fortunately, the principle worked and the design was commissioned. As we get close to the tunnel ahead, you'll note that we're in a rather charming landscape. At some times of the year, the pool to your left is home to herons. The canal system stretching across Scotland is home to over 30 varieties of aquatic plants, 15 species of mollusk, over 30 types of water flea, and even freshwater sponges. Plus the ducks and swans. It's been known for fish to swim into the gondola at the bottom and travel up to the Union Canal with us. Of course, they displace their own weight too. And there are footpaths here as well, leading up into the woods. You can walk along these later if you like. On the right side of the boat, as we enter the tunnel, you'll see a sign reading Rough Castle Tunnel. A castle? You can't see a castle near here. That's because we're about to travel underneath it. Well, almost. There's a Roman castle fort on the hill really quite close by. It was placed there around the year 143 AD as part of a network of military bases built by the Romans to defend the area. These forts were linked by a wall, running right the way across the width of Scotland. For a lot of its distance, this system of forts and walls follows the rough route of the Forth and Clyde Canal, linking the east and west sides of the country. Only the canals were designed to make transport and communication across the country easier. The castle forts were built by the military to control people and keep them out of the northern border of what was then the Roman Empire. Now you'll almost certainly be aware of another Roman emperor, best known for his wall in northern England. The wall above you now wasn't built by Hadrian. It was constructed during the reign of Emperor Antoninus Pius. It's known as the Antonine Wall, and that's the name of our other boat, Antonine. Skip forward 1600 years, and this landscape, instead of being a conflict zone, was one of rapid industrial expansion. Okay, as we're coming towards the end of our time on this level, I just have time to share some of the facts and figures of the Falkirk Wheel. It was opened in May 2002 by Her Majesty the Queen, although she never actually rode it like you have today. There are 15,000 bolts in the structure, pressed into 45,000 bolt holes, and each one was tightened by hand. The two gondolas between them hold 1 million litres of water and can lift the weight of 100 elephants. And it does all that in just 5 minutes, using the power of a few electric kettles. Amazing, isn't it? If you were thinking of getting one for yourself, do be aware that the price tag comes at a whopping £20 million. We're heading back into the gondola now, so that we can rotate back down to the lower level, 25 metres below. This is a great place to take in the view if the Scottish weather has been kind to us today. You should be able to make out the kelpies, Grangemouth and the cranes at the further forth, along with the Ochil Hills and various other ranges. Your skipper might point some of these out to you as you descend. As we come to the end of this boat tour, it's impressive to think that the Falkirk Wheel wasn't actually built as a tourist attraction.
Is that the kelpies right in front?
There was no visitor centre here originally, and boat trips like these didn't take place. But people came to visit the wheel out of their own curiosity. They came from all over the world to wonder at this architectural and engineering gem. So we started running boat trips, and the Falkirk Wheel has gone from strength to strength. And now you've visited too, and ridden this unique part of the Scottish landscape. Perhaps we should leave the last word for the time being to the wheel's designer, Tony Kettle.
The Falkirk Wheel appears to lift its head and take stock of its Scottish surroundings. It stands up proud and bold, emerging from the land as the skeletal frame of a long-lost prehistoric animal. It sits on a spine that connects the east and west coast of Scotland and says, "Scotland is whole once more." The wheel reverberates with the strength and passion, the vision and the imagination that have underpinned the very best of Scottish culture since the 1700s. And, more importantly, it stands as one monument, celebrating the past, but also what may be possible in the future.
The Falkirk Wheel is under the operation of the main control room at the basin, and safety procedures are closely monitored to ensure that the wheel cannot turn until all the steps required have taken place. To make the Falkirk Wheel ready to turn, 2 hydraulic steel gates are raised to seal off the gondola from the water in the canal basin.
Where are they?
The water between the gates is then pumped out, and a watertight seal which connects the gondola and the canal basin is removed. A hydraulic clamp and a series of securing pins which prevent the arms of the wheel from moving while the gondola is docked are now removed, allowing the Falkirk wheel to turn. In the central machine room, an array of 10 hydraulic motors begins to rotate a central axle, which is carried on bearings at both ends. The axle connects to the outer arms of the Falkirk wheel, and this now begins to rotate slowly at a speed of 1/8 of a revolution per minute. It takes around 4 minutes for the gondola to reach the top of the aqueduct, 25 meters above. The Falkirk wheel can turn in a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, and the choice over which way it turns is made by an operator in the control room. To reduce wear on bearings and other moving parts, the operator will evenly distribute the number of times the wheel turns in each direction. As the wheel rotates, the two gondolas are always kept in the upright position by a simple system of gears. Two 8-meter wide outer rings orbit a fixed inner cog of the same width. Two smaller cogs connect the inner and outer rings together. These travel in the opposite direction to the outer rings, and this ensures that the two gondolas remain level. Without this system, the inertia created by over 80,000 gallons of water would tip each gondola over.